Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Bonded by Blood AV Club. We are Charlie
And Hayden.
and we are a mother and son duo that's going to be doing movie reviews, all different types, but right now we're going to focus on horror for a bit. And our first movie that we're going to talk about today is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original 1974 independent film that was produced, co-composed, and directed by Tobe Hooper. And he apparently produced the film with only $140,000 and was able to get over $30 million at the domestic box office. It was released in October 11th, 1974, so it's quite a classic.
What happened was true. The most bizarre and brutal series of crimes in America.
And I hadn't revisited this classic since I was a teenager, so it'd been a really long time, probably younger than you when I last saw it. But we found out when I was digging through my DVDs that I have like 4 different versions of it. I have the original and then I have some later versions of it as well. And it was a whole new experience watching it now as an adult, as most movies are when you haven't seen them in a very long time. So our initial thoughts on it, my initial thoughts on it was being able to see that classic Leatherface that has become such a cult classic throughout history. And it's like one of the first or oldest movies that, like horror movies, that really changed the slasher or created the slasher films, I think. I'm not sure if there's others, but that's just my opinion. And I know in the marketing of it, they talk about how it has minor details that were inspired by Ed Gein. But for the most part, it's fictional. So one of my first thoughts watching the opening scene of it is that the poor guy, Franklin, who was in a wheelchair, is like stuck in the back of this van riding around with his sister and her boyfriend, I think. And he's not even like securely in a seat or safe. He's just like sitting in his wheelchair, like rolling around in the back of this van. And everyone in the van is a jerk to Franklin and makes him feel like crap or treats him like crap. And that was my initial thoughts when we first started watching it. How about you?
I agree. They're like, we're gonna go camping out in this house in the middle of Texas, but there's an upstairs, and we're just gonna have Franklin downstairs, and they're really mean to him for a lot of it. And he's almost like the main character of like the first part because they focus on him more than the other people with him.
Yeah, and then they end up like changing the focus from him after he just like dies or gets killed.
Yeah.
They changed the focus to his sister, who got like no character development, is literally just a jerk to her brother.
Yeah.
For most of the beginning sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And that she just like talks down to him, makes him feel like a burden. It's not cool at all.
Yeah.
And then they pick up that hitchhiker who is like sitting in the back of the van with him doing weird crap with like a pocket knife.
Yeah, he keeps doing weird stuff, and they just like keep increasing, like they're just like, whoa. They just keep watching him like for like a really long, for a scene that feels like it goes on for like a really long time. And like it takes like a forever for them to be like, okay, we're kicking you out of the van now, instead of like if it was me, I would have kicked him out like right away. After some of the stuff he does there.
Yeah, he like takes a Polaroid picture of them and then tries to like bully them into paying him money for it.
Yeah.
Kind of like those photo people at Disneyland or like at amusement parks where they're like, here, you want to pose for a photo? Okay, $25. And then they force you to do it and they guilt you because they took the picture or something. And then he cuts himself with the knife and then like wipes the blood on the side of the van, which is super creepy.
Yeah.
But like they didn't see any red flags at all with this
They
dude.
just keep looking at him like the whole time. They just have the same expression at it. And they left him in the back of the van with Franklin in the wheelchair, by the way.
Totally unsafe.
Yeah.
And like that generation, hitchhiking was totally normal. Not now, but it was totally normal back then.
Yeah.
We've seen enough horror movies and heard enough stories about real serial killers and the consequences of picking up a hitchhiker to know better. So did you know what a hitchhiker was before the movie?
Yeah, I have. I've seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So
Well, I guess, yeah. I guess that's true. That's true. But you had, like, no idea going into the movie what it was about, other than, like, the iconic vision of, like, Leatherface, right?
Yeah, I used to have a plushie of it when I was, like, 10 to 12. And, like, I saw what he looked like, but I knew nothing about the movie at all.
So what were your initial thoughts when we first started watching it?
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know that he was just kind of... I thought they were going to be camping out at night, and then he comes out and then starts killing them, almost like Jason from Friday the 13th. But no, he's just chilling in his house, and then they, like, come and just invade on his property, and then he starts killing them inside his house.
Right. So our initial, like, commentary after they, like, look for their friends, they're looking for their friends that are missing. They break into the house. They, like, look through the windows. They knock on the door. Nobody answers.
Their friend didn't even go missing. The first guy just, like, sees this weird house, and he's like, oh, let me open the door and go inside. And it's like...
So he breaks into the house, and poor Leatherface is just in there doing whatever he's doing in that back room. And then somebody breaks in. And for those of you who don't know, Texas is a stand your ground state, which basically means that if somebody breaks into your house, you have the right to defend yourself. And you should be safe from the law. So these people break into the house. The other people trespass on their property. So literally this creepy family is just minding their own business, being creepy, and these people break in and then they get to murder them. Like, I'm not a proponent for, like, murdering people and wearing their skin after they break into your house, but you do have the right to defend yourself, depending on the state that you're in. Be safe out there. So we see this story of this girl, her friend, her brother, and they go to a homestead. They break into a house. They get murdered. And that first murder scene, the first killing, was one that kind of, like, impacted you.
Yeah, I think there was like 4 or 5 of them, the people there. The very first one was the only one that I was actually, like, the first death was the only one that I was like, whoa. Because it was almost kind of like, it was very abrupt, almost like a jump scare. And, like, it shocked me because jump scares are very cheap when trying to get people to be scared of something.
I don't agree that it was so much as a jump scare as it was just like an abrupt, like, killing, like, scene, I guess.
Yeah.
It just kind of felt like, oh, this is how this is going to go now, and then this kind of sets this the whole dynamic of what the story is going to be moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that initial scene was kind of abrupt, but then after that you kind of know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it becomes a little bit more horror movie standard, I guess.
Yeah, they kind of, you know that he's going to kill them. Like, I think he's, like, chasing one of them. Like, you know where he is, so it's less scary for me, almost. Where, like, I feel like when you don't know that someone, like, when they're going to kill somebody is when it's scarier. But if they're just kind of there, like, slowly walking towards them, I feel like it's less scary.
True. So the story overall is just about a family being creepy, minding their own business, and then people break into their house, and then they get to kill them, or they trespass on their property, and then they get to kill them. After that other scene with the guy in the van, the hitchhiker, and the knife, we find out that he's actually part of that family, and, like, tells his people when he gets home, his family when he gets home, yeah, these kids, they keep breaking in. And then there's the creepy grandpa that comes out of the freaking attic.
And he has, like, a little mallet that they're trying to get him in on trying to kill the girl after Franklin dies, and they've captured her for trying to eat dinner with her.
Yeah.
And they're like, come on, grandpa, and he's got, like this super wrinkly old man with a little mallet is like, ugh.
But he looks dead. Like, he looks completely in a vegetative state in his chair, and then they, like, bring him downstairs to, like, make him part of the murder family, I guess. But yeah, and then I feel like every horror movie trope with the girl's reaction happens. She's just like, I don't know. The reaction is not a, like, I know how to defend myself. It's just like, we're going to be murdered. Yeah. Like, but that happened a lot in the 70s and a lot of those types of movies.
Stereotypical blonde girl is, like, in danger and, like, freaking out and almost dies and all that.
Yeah. So what was your favorite part of the movie?
I think the best part of the movie was the last scene where she's running, like, she, like, escapes from their house and he's running after her with the chainsaw. And then she, like, runs out into the road and this truck driver stops and is like, huh? Opens the door, sees her and the killer, and then, like, nope, closes the door and then gets out the other side and, like, he, like, runs away.
He just left his truck there.
Yeah. What happened to the truck driver? Is he okay? They don't show what happened to him.
No, they just that last scene is just Leatherface chasing her in his, like, suit, the iconic scene with his chainsaw in the suit and his mask. And he's, like, chasing her away, and then she gets off the property, and then he just starts, like, throwing a temper tantrum with the chainsaw, and then does, like, some kind of chainsaw interpretive dance, and then that was it.
Yeah. I think my favorite shot, though, was when she was in the back of another truck that she jumped in the back of, and she's, like, crazily laughing, and then it cuts back to him doing that. I think that's the best part of the movie.
Okay. All right. So, in your opinion, does this 1974 horror classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, hold up in 2025?
Kinda, not really. Like, there's parts, I feel like that if it, like, there's some parts of it, like how they treat Franklin in the wheelchair, and also, like, how they treat Leatherface, kind of, because he can't talk, really.
Yeah, he doesn't.
And his
really
family
talk,
member his family kind of treats him like crap.
Yeah.
That hasn't really aged that well. And also, like, I feel like if this was made today, they would have had him probably kill one of them outside of his house first, so that it doesn't just seem like these kids just keep breaking into the same house to get murdered. But, like, parts of it I feel like have aged really well. Like, I liked the scene where they're all eating dinner, and it's really creepy. I liked that scene. The last shot where she's crazily laughing is really good.
Well, you can tell that she's just, her brain has been broken.
Yeah. So I give it, like, kinda in the middle. Like, there's some stuff that hasn't aged well, but some that I feel like could have been done today and it would have been good.
Okay. Well, that's fair. That's fair. I know for my generation, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a classic and has lived up in history. It actually, like, it didn't have a lot of blood and guts and gore compared to a lot of modern day horror. And I read that the director had hoped for it to get a PG rating because of that, but then they ended up giving it an R rating. So it internationally, it was banned in several countries, and had, like, complaints against violence and stuff in it. So nowadays, I would, like, if they were to do this exact movie and place it in 2025, I think the response would be much different, considering how many more gory films we've had since then.
Yeah.
But that's it for our discussion on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Thank you so much for your time and for being here for our very first episode. Subscribe. We will be doing more, and we appreciate you. Thanks so much.